much higher expectation, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends up, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on into another edition of the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen with you here. Jason Walker making his way down south, making his way to Las Vegas. Maybe you're planning on going too. Hopefully the snow starting to let up now here in Cache Valley, northern Utah, southern Idaho. I guess there might be a chance of a little bit more tonight, but tomorrow should be clear. So thank goodness the Aggies play late. So you could leave tomorrow and be just fine. But we'll be talking a little bit about what's going on in the Mountain West Conference Tournament, which got underway officially today for the men. And so we'll have some updates on what's going on there, as we'll have some bracket updates, what Utah State will be watching and what that situation looks like. Utah Jazz last night, despite being down several key contributors, still gave the Mavericks quite a game on the road. So what does this tell us about Utah? Are they still in tank mode, or are they just, suffering from some injuries and trying to figure a few things out with the depleted roster? But we'll also get into the latest metrics and rankings and kind of how things are changing day to day as conference tournaments unfold. Big named coach is out in college basketball, as we just heard at the top of the hour. We'll talk a little bit about his impact. And the World Baseball Classic got underway late last night and continues today over the next several days. It's been several years since we've had the World Baseball Classic. I think 6 was the last time that this happened. And so baseball, trying to create something akin to the World Cup, but with baseball. And do you get interested in it? Do you get excited about the World Baseball Classic? 20 teams involved. So there's 4 different pools. And we'll talk about Team USA briefly, some of the other teams that are involved. But curious to know if you're into this, if you're watching this, if you're following along with the World Baseball Classic. It got delayed because of COVID. Normally it was on an every 4-year rotation. And it's back this year after having been out or delayed because of COVID stuff. And then also recently just saw a report about football attendance for college football. Is it up? Is it down? And which leagues saw the biggest trends in either direction? So a lot on the docket today. If you want to chime in, love to hear from you as well. 435-339-0321 for those who want to chime in and weigh in on the various different topics that we have on the docket today. And 9315 getting us off the right foot. How come Jason doesn't speak to us on the show on his way down just like you did, Eric? Well, actually, Jason will be chiming in at some point during the show. We've communicated with each other a little bit as he's been making his way down south. When he gets to a point where he can safely chime in, he will. So we will be hearing from Jason Walker. Well, at least we're assuming we will at some point during the show. So stay tuned for that. But, as far as what's going on in the Mountain West Conference, there were the men's basketball tournament got underway today. One game went final. Another is in the second half. But earlier today, it was a barn burner. Colorado State, Fresno State, it was back and forth. And Isaiah Stevens, it's just kind of a one-on-one isolation play, breaks down the defense with a floater in the paint to score with about 2.5 seconds to go. And Colorado State wins. And they beat Fresno State 67-65. So they advance. They will face San Diego State tomorrow in the first game of men's basketball conference play in the tournament at 1 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. But Yeah, the Rams advancing, and the game going on right now is number 7 UNLV versus number 10 Air Force, and about 8.5 minutes to go. UNLV with only a 5-point lead over Air Force, 46-41, and the winner of this game will face Boise State tomorrow, 7 o'clock on CBS Sports Network, and then later tonight, tipping off during our show, expected to tip off around 5 o'clock tonight, this afternoon, will be number 6 New Mexico versus number 11 Wyoming, and Utah State will face the winner of that matchup. And we talked about this the other day. The best case scenario for these earlier games, at least in the first round for the Mountain West, is to go chalk. You want the best teams, the best rankings advancing, so those teams who beat them, it improves their resume as they move on. And for New Mexico and Utah State, if New Mexico can win, right now they're right at 50 in the net. And considering this would be a neutral site for this game, that puts New Mexico as a quad 1 team for Utah State. What we need to hope for here is that New Mexico moves up a couple of notches. If they can beat Wyoming, if they can do that in a very efficient manner, offensively and defensively, that will help. Not just get the win, but do it in a decent manner. Then if and when Utah State beats them, then they can stay in the top 50, so it will remain as a quad 1 win for Utah State. The resume keeps changing from day to day, not just because of that, but games that are happening in other tournaments are helping Utah State. And last night, Utah Tech, they won in their opening round of the Western Athletic Conference tournament. So that helps them improve their net ranking, which moved them out of a quad 4 win for Utah State into quad 3. And so Utah State is now 13-0 in quad 3 games. They're 8-1 in quad 2. But now it looks like they're 1-2 in quad 4. So that doesn't look very good. Weber State could have helped Utah State's cause last night. They played a double overtime game against Montana State in the Big Sky Conference. What a sloppy game that was. Yeah, I give some credit to both defenses for being very aggressive and active, but it was a sloppy game. What was it, like 38 points at the end of regulation? Tied, and goes to double overtime. Weber State has opportunities to win, but they just can't get it done. It was a lot of isolation at the end. Let guys go to work, but spacing wasn't great. Shot selection wasn't great for both teams. I'm not just picking on Weber State. But in the end, it was Montana State with a lob play right at the end on what looked to be another isolation play. But player comes on a backdoor cut with the lob, throws it down, 2 seconds to go, and under 2 seconds to go, and Montana State gets the win. So that would have helped Utah State's resume because it would have helped potentially move Weber State out of quad 4. Now, they would have had to move quite a bit. I don't know if they would have moved that much. But getting that win and then playing in the Big Sky Conference championship game today would have helped them a little bit more. But they would have had to move quite a few spaces to get out of that quad 4 territory. But as it is, they will end their season currently ranked at 189. And then that's not even the worst loss for USU. Their game that they lost against SMU in Hawaii, that's the biggest black eye on the USU resume. Both games lost by only 3 points each, but still, SMU 210 in the net ranking, and that's a bad loss for Utah State. So as of right now, the Aggies looking like they have the one good win. They have 2 bad losses, hoping for opportunities to add more to their good win resume. But we'll look at a couple other things to other comparing some of those other Mountain West teams about then their NCAA tournament resumes. What is Ken Pomeroy, his rankings? We haven't talked too much about those, but we'll get into those a little bit as we go on the show with other updates and what's going on throughout college basketball. 5338 texting in, adios, Jimmy B. Time to go golfing. Signed, Q's Burnt Orange. Yeah, Jim Boeheim, really weird, right? I saw the end of the game. I saw his press conference afterwards, and people were asking, because it was not a great season for Syracuse. They finished, 17-15 on the year, and kind of a struggling year, and they've been down a little bit. They kind of played their way into some things a year ago, but they've been kind of on a downward slide the last several years. But after the tournament game today, someone basically asked him, did you just coach your last game? And it was very vague. And he's like, oh, maybe you guys missed my retirement speech last week. And everyone's like, what? And he says, well, really, it's up to the university. And just really odd. And people who have followed Boeheim closely, he can be a weird guy. he could be a different cat. Certainly his postseason success is incredible, and his years of coaching are amazing. But he can be a jerk. He can be a really weird guy sometimes. But anyway, it's kind of a weird moment at the end of the game today. And then just not long after, just a few short hours later, in a press release from the university, they announced that he's done. So, what? That was just really weird for a coach that's been doing it for as long as he has to go out in a press release from the university. It was just really odd. Jim Boeheim is done. You have to give the guy credit for his many years of success and everything that he accomplished. I mean, he 47 years a head coach at one institution. I mean, that's incredible. And won the national title in 2003, multiple NCAA tournament appearances, multiple Final Fours, but still kind of a weird way to go out. I don't know. It's just really weird. Odd moment today for college basketball with a very historic coach. And now all the accolades are coming in after the announcement. Everybody's chiming in and weighing in on his great career and everything that he has done for college basketball, which, he's had a very long, successful career in college basketball, but still kind of a weird way to go out for Syracuse. But, looking at what's going on for the Mountain West Conference, as we mentioned, we've got a couple games going on tonight, one game going on now. One game has already been done. New Mexico, Wyoming later on this afternoon. But when looking at the resumes of those Mountain West Conference teams who look like they're in, and that's San Diego State, Boise State, Nevada, and USU. And I think we're all safe to say San Diego State's a lock no matter what happens in the conference tournament. But Boise State, Nevada, and USU, things could go south for them quickly if they don't do well at least tomorrow. And we'll see what happens beyond that. But if they lay an egg tomorrow, then it kind of leads us to think, is there, somebody else will get in besides just Boise State, but does it go from potentially 4 teams as of right now to only 2? So let's look at just comparing Utah State, Nevada, and Boise State. Because we've talked a lot about where they are in the net. Utah State has the best net ranking of those 3. The Aggies coming in right now at number 21 in the NCAA net ranking system. And, Boise State is not too far behind, but at 27 with Nevada at 36. Certainly Nevada has the most to lose if they lay an egg tomorrow, but they will look at that, depending on who you're talking to, do they focus on the overall net ranking or how you did in quad 1 games? And in that case, Nevada's 4-5, so they have a stronger resume than USU. So I think you still have to consider a lot of different data points here. And besides just looking at the net, let's consider some of the other rankings that some people will strongly consider. And one of those that has a high reputation that is often referred to is Ken Pomeroy, the KenPom number. So Utah State, they are at number 23 in the KenPom. They've always been very highly regarded in KenPom and his rankings because of their offensive efficiency, a good defense, not a great defense, but a good defense, and beating other teams that are good. Not always great teams, but they're beating teams that are good. And so you've got Utah State at number 23. They've got overall the 12th best adjusted offense. They're 88th in adjusted defense. So, again, good, but not great, but good. And we'll look at some of the other peers, like Boise State. They come in at number 29. So these are pretty close to the net rankings. 21 in the net for USU, 23 in KenPom. Boise State's 27 in the net, 29 in KenPom. But what about, where are they with the adjusted offense and adjusted defense? Boise State, this is kind of flipped from USU here. They're 78th in adjusted offense, but they're 14th in adjusted defense. So really, really good in one category, pretty good, good in another. So kind of similar to USU, just in different ways. And then you look at Nevada, who is 39 in KenPom, 36 in the net, and Nevada is 62nd with adjusted offense, so better than Boise, and they're 38th in adjusted defense. So not as good as Boise, but certainly better than USU. So all three of them have pretty solid resumes and reasons to consider them as having all three of those besides your automatic lock in San Diego State. And then one other thing to look at that that the selection committee will often look at, and they will hear national pundits discuss, is how do they look now? Like, are they trending in the right direction going into the tournament? How well are they playing as we get close to March? How are they trending? Are they trending in the right direction? Did they get their wins early but are struggling late? Or are they vice versa? Did they struggle early, but now they figured some things out and now they're playing good basketball? So if we look at that, how are they trending right now? And so I went to February 1st, just your last several games, the last month of work, body of work. Since February 1st, Utah State is 7-2, but they've won their last 5. So Utah State definitely the hottest team out of the Mountain West going into the tournament. No other team has won as many games as USU going into the Mountain West Conference tournament. Boise State, on the other hand, since February 1st, they're 5-3, and they lost 2 out of their last 3 games. Not much different for Nevada, who also 5-3 since February 1st, and they lost 3 of their last 5. So if we're going to make a case for San Diego State for sure, and at least one other team that we should really feel confident about getting in, it really should be Utah State. The Aggies have the only mark against USU in all of these metrics is their record in Quad 1 games, which I understand that's an important metric to consider. But when you look at their overall win total, their win-loss total, how they're trending going into the tournament, their adjusted offense, which we want to see teams that have good offense, that play well. We want to see teams that are going to have exciting basketball. We want to see a team that's on the right track. We want to see a team that's beaten good teams all year and has been highly rated pretty much the entire year. Utah State fits that mold, and they fit those criteria. Utah State, one of the teams that they beat this season was Oral Roberts. They just ran through their conference. They just rolled through their conference tournament. And Oral Roberts, they're up to 38 in the net. It's too bad they couldn't get a little bit higher than that, but that's because they're in the Summit League, and it's really not that good of a conference. So as high as they could get was 38. But Weber State made it to the semifinals. We'll see how Utah Tech does. But some of the other teams, the non-conference teams that Utah State has faced, how many of those are still going to be in action or helping USU's cause? Some of the better ones that could help the Aggies are mostly done by now. Utah Valley is another one who could help USU, who had a good year in the WAC. They haven't played their conference game just yet, but that they could help USU's case. So, I mean, they're not so much in the hoping for other people to make their case for them as perhaps we were feeling a few weeks ago, because as the Aggies have been on this winning streak, they've helped their own case. They've helped their own resume and their own cause. They still need to win tomorrow. Tomorrow is a can't-lose game for USU. They have to win tomorrow. And then is that still going to be enough? No matter if they end up losing in the semifinals, will that be enough? That's where it gets a little bit tricky. Now that kind of gets into the let's see what other people are doing kind of a territory, and that can be uncomfortable. But if Utah State wins tomorrow and wins on Friday, I don't think it matters what happens on Saturday. But we'll continue to look at that, other games that are happening throughout college basketball, how that can affect Utah State. We'll look at the attendance numbers released for college football that were announced today, and how does that look for the Mountain West, and why are things trending the way they are? We'll update you on that. The World Baseball Classic going on now. We'll update you on some of those games. Are you paying attention to it? And can baseball get to a point where it I don't know that it can really rival the World Cup, but can they create an event that is exciting, maybe more akin to FIBA World Cup for basketball? Can they get to that point where it's an international game and it creates that kind of a buzz, that kind of an interest in the sport internationally? I don't know. We'll debate that coming up here on the Full Court Press.
Girls, insist he take you to Jarek's. Picking out your wedding ring is an experience you will never forget. Come to a place where the mood is right and the setting is perfect for romance. Jarek's Fine Jewelry in Logan. The perfect collection of memorable designs, classic creation, and modern marvels. If you want an intimate, romantic experience you will never forget, then insist he takes you to Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Make it special, make it Jarek's at 930 North Main in Logan.
Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Make it special, make it Jarek's.
Les Olson IT is your source for top quality technology. We carry the latest desktop and laptop PCs in stock, configured to your specific needs, and backed by our award-winning support team. And if your business demands high-performance hardware, we offer custom-built computers that can tackle any task. We also offer great computer accessories like monitors, keyboards, speakers, Fujitsu document scanners, and more. Get a quote today.
Les Olson IT.
Don't get caught without power to your home or business. This is Tyler with Golden Spike Electric. We offer Generac backup generators to keep your home or business warm, avoiding frozen pipes, loss of valuable food, or even a flooded basement. Golden Spike Electric is certified and factory trained, so you know it will be installed right and properly maintained. Contact Golden Spike Electric so you'll never be without power again. Online at gsegenerators.com. We also service other brands. Golden Spike Electric and Generac. Power you can count on.
Prodigy Brewing on Center Street is looking to hire motivated team members to join their talented executive chef, Dustin Kirby. This position in Prodigy Brewing's kitchen will help create an amazing dining experience for their brew pub customers. If you are experienced or are willing to learn in a fast-paced environment, visit Prodigy Brewing today, located at 25 West Center Street in Logan. Prodigy Brewing is proud to offer competitive pay, employee perks, a great environment, and more.
Nothing beats March Madness. The pure sound of a swish, the rattle of a slam dunk, the fans on their feet for the big moments. And the action just keeps getting better until a national champion is crowned. Hear all the action with Westwood One's exclusive coverage of this year's NCAA tournament, right here.
Catch all the action of March Madness on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, online at 1069thefan.com or the Fan mobile app.
Spring has sprung, and so have the deals at Murdoch Volkswagen. Get ready for a season of adventure and hop behind the wheel of a brand new VW during our spring sales event. Right now, lease a new 2023 Taos SE for only $329 per month, or lock in 4.9% for 5 years on the Tiguan or Taos. When you walk through our doors, you feel like family. At Murdoch Volkswagen in Logan or online at murdochvw.com.
Call 866-628-3065 to see dealer for complete details. Offer expires 3/31/23.
They never could play it, but they sure can talk about it. Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker on the Full Court Press.
I gave my retirement speech on the court last Saturday, and I gave it in the press conference afterwards, and nobody except William Payne figured it out.
That's Jim Boeheim after his team lost today. Must not have been a very good retirement speech. Nobody caught it there, Jim. Don't act all shocked. Just, again, kind of a weird dude. But more about Jim Boeheim and his retirement today. It's another comment about basically sounds like University of Syracuse just kind of like, you know what, maybe it's just time, and didn't seem to offer him an extension.
The university hasn't offered me anything, whether to work or do anything at the university. That's their choice. It was great to see Mike Krzyzewski's at Duke and Roy Williams is at North Carolina, and Mike Bray is going to work for Notre Dame. That's great. I haven't had any conversations about that. I hope that we will. But I've just been lucky to be able to coach this long.
It was just weird. And then just the exchange about from a reporter with Jim Boeheim after the game today.
Are you saying right now that you're going to retire?
This is up to the university.
You want to come back?
I didn't say that.
Okay, but so what are you saying? You're not saying you're retiring, but you're not saying...
I just said it. I don't know.
So you don't know? Okay.
I said this is up to the university.
And you're not sure whether you're... How will you make a determination about when you will come back?
You're talking to the wrong guy.
Wow. Okay. So clearly, Jim Boeheim and Syracuse officials at odds with each other. But look, the guy's been in the game for 47 years. Brought you a national championship, multiple trips to the NCAA tournament, Final Four appearances, NCAA tournament appearances. I mean, yeah, Krzyzewski went out with a bang. Roy Williams as well. We've seen other great legendary coaches get their flowers and get sent off in kind of a pretty exciting kind of a manner, and that you recognize what they've done. But Jim Boeheim loses in the conference tournament, has all this throwing shade at his administration, saying that he gave his retirement speech, but nobody caught it. So did you really give it a retirement speech? And then after, just like hours later, they issue a statement. And so he's basically done via a press release. Just really weird. Unfortunate kind of a way to close things out for Jim Boeheim. Maybe they'll do something later with him. And they should, even if he's been kind of a jerk to deal with. You have to still recognize all of his years of success and what he's been able to do for that institution. But, outspoken guy and not always easy to get along with. Somebody who would care less about local media and only wanted to talk to national media. But just kind of an odd person, but did have a lot of success. You have to give him that. But still, it's kind of an odd way to end things with Jim Boeheim and all of his years of experience at Syracuse. Quick update on what's going on in the Mountain West Conference tournament. Tight one here. Air Force has crawled back into it, and now they've taken the lead, 57-56, 30 seconds to go in Las Vegas on UNLV's home court. And, it could be interesting. Now, looking at Boise State, because that's who they will play in the next round, Boise played Air Force only once. They played UNLV twice and beat the Rebels both times. Pretty handily the first meeting that they had earlier in the year, but only narrowly got past UNLV in this their last meeting, which was just a few weeks ago. Air Force they were able to beat, though that was a close game. So it could be really interesting here to see what happens as this game closes out and how that affects Boise State coming up in the next round. But, this could be pretty interesting. Boise State beat Air Force 59-52 on January 31st. But it's a scrappy Air Force team and not to be overlooked. They've had a lot of close losses, been in a lot of games, haven't won too many in conference play, but very, very competitive and very scrappy. So interesting to see if they do advance, how Boise State handles that. UNLV, if they survive this, kind of an exciting victory for them to move on and face Boise State on their home court. So anyway, that's a quick update of what's going on in college basketball in the Mountain West Conference. Did you any of you check in and see that game last night with Weber State and Montana State? That was a really close game, and give the Wildcats credit for kind of fighting back and getting into that game and improving their standing in the Big Sky after struggling for big stretches earlier in the year. But apparently there was a bit of an exchange after the game. They didn't show this on the national broadcast on ESPN2, but apparently as the teams are going through the line shaking hands with each other, a little bit of words shared and accusations that the Montana State head coach may not have voted for the Weber State player. Now his name is slipping my mind as the potential player of the year. And so no love lost there. That was kind of an awkward situation. And saw some clips of the Weber State player kind of voicing his frustration, why he was frustrated with the opposing coach over not voting for him as player of the year. And then Montana State's coach saying, I did vote for him. I don't know what his beef's about. I thought he's a great player. So I don't know if he's just trying to save face, but kind of an awkward exchange apparently at the end of the Weber State Montana State double overtime game last night in the Big Sky. 9315 texting in, can you imagine if Utah State did that when Stu retired? Can you imagine the black eye USU would have had and Stu never won a national title? Yeah, just really weird situation. Maybe Boeheim felt like he still had years left in him to keep coaching. And I'm going to keep coaching until you tell me not to. That's on you. And maybe Syracuse felt like, look, you're past your prime. We really like your assistant, and he's going to be the heir apparent. Let's go that way. I don't know. I don't know what went down there, but it's not a good look today. And we'll see if they can kind of save face with this over the next few days. But kind of odd the way that all went down. Adrian Autry, he was the assistant and is the assistant on that Syracuse staff, and he's going to be the one elevated to be the next head coach for Syracuse. By the way, one other interesting note today: that police department in Colorado that was looking into what happened with John Morant at that nightclub. Basically, they've said we're going to close up this investigation. There just wasn't enough evidence, which seems a little odd that this just barely kind of picked up some steam just in the last few days. So how much time were they really able to put into this investigation? But they say, look, there just didn't appear to be enough evidence. And so we're not going to pursue this anymore. Well, I just don't know how much evidence they tried to gather, how many interviews they tried to conduct, how much video they tried to look through. So kind of odd, to be honest, that they're shutting up shop on this investigation so quickly. I know that the NBA is kind of doing their own investigation here. The Memphis Grizzlies have said that they do plan to that Ja Morant will miss some more games, that he will miss more time. For the next 4 games, is what their statement says. And Morant said, he's come out and he's apologized. We've seen a lot of other players from the NBA and other sports going to share their own experiences about sometimes that can be difficult when you've got a crew that's with you and maybe trying to appear to be a certain type of character, and be careful. Steven Adams called out his team. We need to be more focused as we're getting ready for this stretch run of the playoffs, and they seem to ignore their own elder statesmen. So, yeah, there's some problems going on in the Memphis Grizzlies, and particularly with Ja Morant. But interesting note that the Colorado Police Department just seemed to wrap that up rather quickly. I would have thought that they should have taken maybe a little bit more time, but maybe nobody's willing to talk. They just don't have anything to look at for that. So kind of an interesting move in the NBA and how it's affecting the Grizzlies, who have fallen a little bit. They've slipped down to 3rd in the standings, and the Sacramento Kings have moved ahead. Utah Jazz went from being in the 9th position down to the 13th after their loss last night. We talked about one of the stats that blew my mind yesterday, just how many teams are at a logjam in the Western Conference. And unfortunately, with the loss, it moved the Jazz out of being in the playoffs to being out. A couple of teams, several teams now ahead of them, but still very, very tight and could get back into the conversation. Their next game will be against the Orlando Magic in Orlando, who's not a good team in the NBA, has a bad record, one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference, but still, it's a real question of who's available for Utah and what their intentions are, what their hopes are. So we'll get into a little bit more about that. Utah Jazz and their game in Dallas last night. They did lose, but much more competitive in that one. And there are a couple of things I think are positives, even though it was a loss for the Utah Jazz, which is making me second guess whether this team is really in a tank mode altogether to finish out their last 17 games of the regular season. We'll discuss that. Love to get your comments, your questions on our Full Court Press text line, 435-339-0321.
You've been putting up with a dirty, dusty wood stove for years. Why haven't you changed it? Go to Advanced Fireplace and Stove in Logan. Look through their showroom for ideas on Quadra-Fire pellet and wood stoves and Heat and Glow gas fireplaces. They have several demos in place so you can see firsthand how your project will look. And you can trust the pros at Advanced Fireplace and Stove. They'll do the job right. Advanced Fireplace and Stove. 752-7272. Online at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
Let's talk about getting your car registered. What a pain. With registration and emissions, it can take a long time. Valvoline Instant Oil Change in Logan, across from Angie's, will take that pain away. Stop in to get your oil changed and have your emissions done, and then re-register your car. It's all that easy in one stop. The best thing, you can stay in your car while our trained pros service your vehicle. Valvoline Instant Oil Change, 695 North Main, open 7 days a week.
This is Jay at Daryl's Appliance. When your appliance needs service, who should you trust? May I suggest a company with 50 years of experience serving locals? A company with factory-trained technicians with over 100 years of combined experience? A company that stocks thousands of parts to service your appliance? That's Daryl's Appliance. When you need your appliance repaired right, quickly, think Daryl's West on Airport Road, open until 6 p.m. on weekdays, 5 on Saturday.
Nothing beats March Madness. The pure sound of a swish, the rattle of a slam dunk, the fans on their feet for the big moments. And the action just keeps getting better until a national champion is crowned. Hear all the action with Westwood One's exclusive coverage of this year's NCAA tournament, right here.
Catch all the action of March Madness on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, online at 1069thefan.com or the Fan mobile app.
Hey golfers, this is PGA golf professional Eric Clement inviting you to come play in the first annual AMK Foundation 4-Man Scramble charity golf event the week of March 6th through the 11th at Links Golf. Call Links Golf today, 435-213-9795 to sign up. All proceeds benefit special needs kids and families in our community. The first annual AMK Foundation charity golf event at Links Golf. Thanks for choosing to support special needs kids and families in our community.
The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Looks like we're going to overtime in Las Vegas. Don't we love March? Too bad it's not on a national broadcast, however. But Air Force and UNLV all squared up at 57 and going to extra. And so that will likely delay the start of the Wyoming and New Mexico game, which Utah State will be watching closely. But, a tight one there. Pretty exciting between Air Force and UNLV. By the way, just seeing this Jeff Goodman, good point here. Just there's a lot of, and I mentioned these earlier, so there's been some really legendary coaches just recently who have called it a career, called it a day. In 2021, it was Roy Williams. That was on April 1st. On April 2nd, it was Mike Krzyzewski in 2022. A few weeks later, on April 20th in 2022, it was Jay Wright with Villanova. So you got North Carolina, Duke, Villanova. And today, Jim Boeheim. March 8th, 2023. Between the four of those coaches, 11 national titles, 31 Final Four appearances. That is incredible. What an era of college basketball with those coaches. So, and they're all done. See what happens with those programs as they move forward. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on what's going on between Air Force and UNLV as that game has gone into overtime, and with implications for Boise State, who faces the winner and may delay the start of the Wyoming-New Mexico game, and the winner of that game will face Utah State. Utah Jazz in action last night, taking on the Dallas Mavericks on the road. And look, this was an interesting game for Utah because a starting lineup that I don't think I've ever seen before out of Utah. Talon Horton-Tucker, Simone Fontecchio, Lauri Markkanen was a starter, and Kelly Olynyk, and who was the other starter for Utah? It's Ochai Agbaji was the other starter. So very interesting lineup for the Jazz. But a great performance from Lauri Markkanen, who had missed some time, was kind of dealing with some lower back soreness, wasn't feeling great. There was no Walker Kessler. He was ill. Jordan Clarkson was out with a sprained finger. He popped it out and had to pop it back in place. Still no Colin Sexton, dealing with hamstring. So very different lineup for Utah, just who is and who isn't available. But 33 points for Markkanen, and he's somebody that I've been really interested to watch since Mike Conley got traded away. How efficient will Markkanen be going forward? Will he still be as dynamic and as efficient as a scorer without that prolific point guard to help set him up or get the ball to him where he's most comfortable? And I think there were some times where he struggled a little bit to figure that out, how to play without that great point guard. But Chris Dunn, give him credit. He's kind of come along and helped Utah figure some things out. And I think Markkanen also is figuring how to continue to press the advantage without having that kind of a point guard alongside him. Talon Horton-Tucker was somebody who was all but forgotten for long stretches earlier in the year and has been pressed into extended minutes here more lately. And there are moments where he gets a little wild and out of control. But last night, I thought he had a pretty solid game for Utah. 21 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, a couple of steals. He had a block. I thought he played pretty solid down the stretch. Had an opportunity to kind of close the gap, still give Utah a chance to win the game. Makes his first free throw. Tries to intentionally miss, but throws it a little bit too high, a little bit too hard. It misses the rim, goes off the backboard on a second free throw attempt, and that's not allowed. So Dallas gets the ball, more free throws ensue, and they end up winning by a more comfortable margin. But give a lot of credit to Talon Horton-Tucker and how he playing a larger role. Really impressed with Chris Dunn. Here's a guy who signed on a 10-day contract, and he's playing significant minutes and significant moments for the Utah Jazz. Last night, 11 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and a steal. Very impressive stat line for Chris Dunn, who got another 10-day contract. That's definitely somebody Utah should be holding on to. But these last few games, we've seen a little bit more Johnny Juzang, who we haven't seen all year. And we're seeing a little bit more of some of these other new guys, Damian Jones, Juan Toscano Anderson. But still, they're kind of finding their way in this system. Rudy Gay with his mask coming back a little bit more into form, impacting the team. But not enough to get the win. But Dallas, they're a decent team. Not a great record. Really only a few wins, losses above the Jazz. Definitely within striking distance when we look at the standings. But I was impressed with how Utah and Coach Hardy still rolled up their sleeves and tried to get a win. And tried to be competitive even if they had kind of a weird lineup and a weird roster. So I think that even though they're short-staffed, they're underrepresented with talent, I think they're still going to try to win games. I don't know that it will really yield many victories as a result, but I think they're still trying to compete, and I think that's what's interesting about the culture that they're building and implementing in Utah with what's going on, despite selling off assets at the trade deadline without a whole lot of immediate return. And just trying to see where this team is for playing the long game here for the Utah Jazz. But when you look at the standings, the NBA is still very, very tight in the Western Conference. Jazz slipped down to the 13th position, but they're only a game out of being back in 9th. They're 2 games out of being a home team for the play-in tournament. So it's still very, very tight race here in the Western Conference. Jazz have opportunities to pick up some wins if they can here coming up with the game at Orlando, a team that's struggling and is not very good in the record. And they've got some players that are going to be out. Be curious to see what Jazz players may be available. But at Orlando and at Charlotte, should be winnable games for the Jazz to get them out of their 4-game losing streak. But this is a team that has been struggling really since the 1st of February, just a handful of victories over the last month and a half. But then after those couple of games, it gets hard again. Miami, Boston, Sacramento, Portland, Milwaukee, Sacramento again, Phoenix. So that's a really, really tough stretch ahead for the Utah Jazz. Another quick timeout, and when we come back, we'll update you on what's going on in the Mountain West Conference Tournament between Air Force and UNLV. And we've got the latest standings, the net rankings we're going to look at, Ken Pomeroy numbers, also looking at interesting information about attendance in college football. Was it up or was it down in overall in college football, and what about in the Mountain West Conference? We'll discuss that coming up on the Full Court Press.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. Life is good. Life at My Mattress is good too. Why might I say that? Because today is a good day to slay a Goliath. The other day I went into a mattress store here in Logan that has 2,500 stores across the country. I'd say that's a Goliath. We were 20% less expensive on every bed that we both offer. We may not have 2,500 stores, but we are number one in Cache Valley. Better product and better prices. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally? Only at My Mattress.
Imagine your wedding day. Elegant, simple, yet stunning, stress-free. It's your day. It's all about you. Whether you're looking for small and simple or have a grander idea, the Riverwoods Conference Center will accommodate your every need. Choose the inside ballroom elegance or outside along the natural decor of the beautiful Logan River. A Riverwoods event planner will work personally with you to make sure your event is exactly how you've envisioned it. The Riverwoods Conference Center, where your happily ever after begins. Google Riverwoods Conference Center or call 750-5151.
Nothing beats March Madness. The pure sound of a swish, the rattle of a slam dunk, the fans on their feet for the big moments. And the action just keeps getting better until a national champion is crowned. Hear all the action with Westwood One's exclusive coverage of this year's NCAA tournament, right here.
Catch all the action of March Madness on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, online at 1069thefan.com or the Fan mobile app.
This year, celebrate your anniversary with diamond jewelry from S.A. Needham Jewelers. Adorned in diamonds, she will feel elegant and cherished. Choose from a large selection of diamond bands, diamond pendants, and diamond earrings. Also, you'll enjoy a beautiful selection of diamonds mounted in rose gold. We price our diamond jewelry with an integrity price guarantee so that you can be assured the best possible value. With 12 months interest-free financing available. For the people and occasions that matter most, S.A. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
This is Nate Lamson with Valley Office Systems, your home team when local matters. Valley Office Systems is your local provider for all things office, copiers, printers, furniture, and document management. Proudly serving Cache Valley since 2007. Visit valleyofficesystems.com.
The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools, the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
The semi-annual Napa Gold filter sales going on now through March 15th. All Napa Gold filters are up to 60% off. A lot of it's on sale. Can't beat their prices on diesel oils either. They got truckloads with more on the way. Go check that out. Chevron, Napa Premium, Valvoline Premium Blue. They've got a lot of great deals in store with their semi-annual gold filter sale. Locally owned from Preston to Providence. That's Napa Auto Parts. Go check it out. Those deals in store until March 15th. Big stories. A couple of big stories today, nationally at least, that Jim Boeheim calling it a day, but kind of weird how it happened. He claimed he gave a retirement speech on the court. Must have been in the last home game last week, but nobody apparently caught that it was a retirement speech. And then was questioned about it after losing in the Big East tournament, ACC tournament today. Didn't seem to really say if it was his decision or if he wanted to be stepping down or not. It was up to the university. And then hours later, the university issues a statement, says, yeah, he's done. It's just really, really weird way to end. And then the Glendale, Colorado Police Department basically shutting down their investigation of John Morant, which based on a video that Morant shared on Instagram showing that he had a gun in the club. And so the NBA doing their own investigation, but Morant will miss the next 4 games that are played with the Grizzlies that are on their schedule. It's kind of odd that the police department wrapped their investigation up as quick as they did. But there's kind of a precedence here. The NBA does not look kindly on players flashing guns or having guns with them. And you remember Gilbert Arenas and what happened with him. Great player for the Wizards, and had a couple of incidents with a gun. Ramona Shelburne reminding us about what happened with him.
This is really in Adam Silver's spot here, where he can decide, depending on what the investigation finds, he has pretty much carte blanche on how he punishes John Morant in this situation, if indeed the investigation does find some wrongdoing. The only precedent that comes to mind and that was really relevant in this case is Gilbert Arenas back in 2010. Yeah. That was obviously very different circumstances and a very different case. It was also David Stern was the commissioner back then, and Gilbert Arenas was given an indefinite suspension after he brought weapons to the Wizards locker room.
Yeah, if you remember, Arenas pulled the gun on a teammate in the locker room. So very, just different circumstances for sure, but still the NBA did not look kindly on having a gun waved around with one of its players. So more on that and more on college football attendance and the Aggies next hour.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens have been at a stalemate on the contract extension for a while now. And yesterday it was reported the Ravens will not use the exclusive tag on the former MVP. That will allow other teams the ability to negotiate a contract with him. And if a deal lands outside of Baltimore's price range, the Ravens receive 2 first-round draft picks in exchange for the quarterback. But Baltimore's hesitancy to attach themselves to Jackson may not be the whole story here. Ever since Deshaun Watson's fully guaranteed $230 million contract with the Browns, Lamar has reportedly been in search of a similar deal. That has angered plenty of owners, but the league will now have the opportunity to send a message to its players loud and clear with Jackson. Because if a former MVP with a 73% winning percentage isn't going to get a fully guaranteed mega deal, then it's pretty clear the Deshaun Watson contract is an exception, not the rule. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.